What is up, you guys? It's your boy Captain Jack. Welcome back to the channel. You can see we're not on a boat, we're actually on a beach, and I'm sending out offshore with my buddy Jay. I don't know if you can hear me. It's a little windy. Normally I'm going off boats, doing a bunch of voiceovers, which we are gonna do that on this trip, but we're gonna do it super primitively, except not spears. I'm gonna rock the Rob Allen 120 roller, and Jay's, I don't know what he's rocking, but I'll talk you over in the voiceover. But he is heading out on his kayak. He's got it all loaded down, and I'm gonna show you what I'm rolling with. So I have my dye bag, which is kind of a mesh bag, and I'm just gonna have it as a catch-all for everything. I have this inflatable paddleboard with a seat that I have mounted on the little foot bar, and I'm rocking the kayak paddle, but something I have that is gonna give me an edge, and I'm so excited about it. It is this video's sponsor, and it is called a Boost Surfing Fin. This thing is insane. It is a completely wireless. I have a little remote, and I'm gonna use that to control it, and there's an app you can actually have too that controls the fin, and it controls, you can customize what the settings you want. So there's like a little wrist thing, which is right here. I wish it wasn't so windy. It's this little wrist mount. It has 2 buttons, and you can customize each button. And this is a fin. It mounts on surfboards and paddleboards, and you can customize it. For this one, I did a flat pad, and it was really simple. I just glued this pad to the bottom of this inflatable paddleboard, and now this thing will slide in and out, and I'll show you as I get it on. And it also hooks on surfboards, and it gives you like a little boost to drop in on a wave, and then you have settings where it does like a 15-minute trolling session where you just cruise on a paddleboard if it's nice and calm. And this is actually what I'm gonna use to get out here. Jay's gonna be smoking me in the kayak, but I'm gonna see if I can keep up with this boost fin. It gives me an extra boost, and then I'm also paddling. So we're gonna give it a whirl, and I'm gonna show you putting this this fin actually on. Oh wait, I gotta take the pin out. Goes in. There you go. Dude, this thing's ready to rock and roll. All right, I'm gonna smoke Jay on the way out there. He's gonna be wishing he had this thing. But we're gonna send it offshore, and I'll see you guys out there on the water. All right, we're jetting out here. All right, I'm just literally plopped on my board and just hit the trolling mode, and I'm just cruising out here. Jay is probably super jealous. And now that I'm out here, I can like take this bag off. I can really get situated, take my sunglasses off, and start paddling out. All right, got past the break. Bro, I didn't even touch my paddle. What? I didn't even touch my paddle. All right, I guess I'm gonna wait till I head out there before I start setting up. I'm just gonna lay my bag in my lap, see how it goes. So I'm straight chilling. I have a little bit of a curve to the right, so I'm just putting my paddle in the water to kind of counterbalance it and try to steer myself to make sure I'm going straight. Jay's over there paddling, and look, I'm just ripping away. All right, so we made it out here. It is a little rough, but we got the yakkies hooked up together. We're about a mile offshore, hitting some reef line, and we're just pecking along. We're just gonna go where the current brings us, have the flashers, hopefully pull in some pelagics, possible reef fish. We're gonna do some drops, and I'm taking you with me, so don't go anywhere, and I'll see you down below.
Welcome back underwater, everyone, and welcome to the voiceovers. Thank you so much for tuning in, and also for everybody who subscribes. It means the world to me. And if you're new to the channel, go ahead and help me out, subscribe, follow along with all the adventures, and hopefully you learned something from this one. So I'm rocking the Rob Allen 120 carbon roller. It's such a great versatile gun. You can use it offshore, inshore, and we're diving these reef patches that run quite a long distance. That way we don't have to do any resets, because we are paddleboard and kayaks, so we're not gonna hop in and just keep redoing drifts. So we're just making sure we do really long drifts, and that's what I highly recommend if you're ever doing a paddleboard or a kayak dive. And once you just get on this reef line, you just want to kind of drift it. If you have some chum, you might want to chum. We actually didn't bring any chum on this trip, but I did bring the flashers, and I kind of use those as a way to have a starting point. So I know that my buddy diver is going to be at the top of the flashers, and it helps you spot them even when you're down under. So if I'm at the bottom, I can look around and I can see if the flashers are going pretty far past me, and I know that my buddy diver is that direction. So if I head to the surface, I kind of veer towards that direction. And we're in about 50 feet of water here. I hit the sand. I'm hoping to bring in a mutton. I believe there was one off in the distance. It was really hard to make it out with the GoPro, but I found this little ridge, and I went to the bottom of it, and that's where I'm in this weird, I don't know, kind of interesting looking bottom. And I've seen some muttons and hogfish come off of the reef down to the sand to see what's going on. And usually when the current is really pumping, it rips over the reef and down in those little sand valleys, and the fish kind of congregate down in those valleys, and bait usually congregates there, and then also that brings the predators. But nothing on this drop. Keep sticking with me here. We get into some nice fish, and I think Jay's about to make a drop here in just a minute. So we switch over to Jay's GoPro here, and he does a tactic that's a little bit different. He doesn't go all the way to the bottom, but he does head down to the reef. You can see he's diving pretty much the same area that I am. He's sticking close to the flashers, and those are ornamental fish that are like little moon triggers that are just intrigued by the flashers. But Jay goes to the bottom of the flashers, turns around, nice yellow jack, just beelines it right to him. He just hips fires and lands this first fish. This is the first fish of the day, so we weren't going to be super picky. We wanted to make sure we get lunch, but we get into some really good fish, so stay tuned.
Oh, you fucker. Let's go. Hmm?
Second shot?
No. You fucking snuck up on me. I was like, yeah, she's fine. He was like right here in my face. How'd I hit shoot him?
About an hour has gone by, maybe about an hour and a half has gone by. We haven't really seen a whole lot. Jay shot that smaller yellow jack, and I keep doing the same type of dive, and every dive is between 1:30 and 2 minutes, heading to the bottom, hoping that a mutton or a hogfish or something comes in. And I didn't show it, but at the beginning of this trip, when I hopped in off the kayak and the paddleboard, I looked down and there was a huge school of like 15-pound yellow jacks down that charged the flashers, and I thought, wow, that's a really good sign. But we didn't see crap after that, so I wasn't, jonesing to dive bomb them. I figured that was a great sign that we were going to see a lot of life, but we literally haven't seen anything worth shooting in a while. I even tried my throw flasher. You see a little mutton off in the distance, but he's not even close to the legal size, and they have to be 18 inches. So I tried throwing the throw flasher, let it sink to the bottom. It obviously brought in a little bit of fish, that little mutton, but not anything worth shooting. And luckily we were really persistent, and if something's not really going your way, I think persistence is key. If you stick at it for long enough, even if you want to call it quits, hang out there, really put in the effort. And also it just makes you a better diver, just practicing going up and down, diving safe, diving breathing techniques, all just different kinds of diving. Just being in the water really helps get you better at diving. That's one of the key things I always tell people. But I grabbed my throw flasher, clipped it back on my belt, headed to the surface, and then it's almost like a desert, but we end up coming up on some really good structure, and you'll see it here in just a sec. Finally, from the surface, I start hearing the crackling in the water. Now when that happens, I know I'm over a reef or I'm over some type of structure. So I quickly make a dive. I see this little sand patch. I was kind of thinking about maybe just bombing towards that area and just sitting in that sand patch, but I'm kind of over sitting on the bottom at this point. So I go down, just hovering a little bit over the reef, and I'm just glancing out. Nothing's coming in on me until I turn my head. And that's a big thing, is you want to make sure you're always turning and looking. But sure enough, that sand patch, just a little like kind of next to it, was a nice mutton. And you see it off in the distance. He's not spooked at all, almost coming into me, but starts to swim up current. And once that happens, I know he's not going to come into me. I was grunting. I was hoping it would kind of pull him in, but I just started grunting to act like I'm, you know, just a normal part of the area. I'm just grabbing my hand and kind of pulling myself along the reef. And once he starts to pick up the pace a little bit, I pick up my pace, but he starts to slow down, gives me a really good broadside shot. I don't take any chances. I'm not going to try to stone him or anything, so I aim for the mid-gill plate. I know this is a really good fish. I don't even need to question it to measure him. But he got all wrapped up in this little sea fan bottom thing. So I tried, if I would have tried to untangle it, it would have been a nightmare. So I ended up just trying to stop the fish so he didn't get more wrapped up. And I just ripped off the tips of the little sponge structure. I don't like doing that, but in this case, I really didn't have much of a choice.
Mutton. Mutton.
I was absolutely pumped about that mutton because that fish alone made the trip. I made a dive shortly after. I made a couple of dives and I didn't really see much, and Jay did the same thing. But I finally made a dive, hit to the bottom, and again, it's just the persistence is what is key here. We're hitting really the same reef, but there's certain parts of the reef that just, I don't know, they just have a couple of holes and they just hold a ton of life. And so I'm chugging along the reef. I'm seeing really the same thing that I saw right before I saw the mutton. But I do a little bit of grunting and I look up in front of me and I just see some fish faces beelining right to me. And the spade fish are actually a really good telltale, and I'm starting seeing a little more bait, but these nice snappers come in right to me, extend the gun before they get too close and I spook them. Landed a really good shot, and this is a proper mangrove snapper. He was probably about 17, 18 inches, which is always an absolute stud when it comes to mangroves. And they only need to be 12 to be legal. No, 10, sorry, 10 to be legal. And this guy's well over the limit.
It's a proper mang. There's a couple of them down there. Make a dive. There's a lot of life right now.
Shortly after, I told Jay to make a drop. He didn't see a whole lot, but he did say that there was a ton of life on this reef. And that's exactly, you see even some of my, some of the guts from the fish that I just gutted starts heading down. But you see the normal reef life, but all of a sudden there's like a little shelf there, and it just is loaded with snapper. And Jay said that there was a lot of like 10, 9, like just barely, maybe 11, like over legal size. But that's just a cloud of mangrove snapper on top of that little structure. And then you see all the bait in the area. So all it takes is just a little bit of persistence, and then you end up coming up on really good structure, really good area of the reef. And it makes, honestly, the 2.5 hours of diving worth that, you know, few minutes of an absolute hotspot teeming with life. And you just got to make sure you make your opportunities count when you get shots on fish. And that's exactly what Jay does shortly after. He makes a drop, lands a nice mangrove, very similar to mine. And that's a quality bag we have coming home with us.
Here, I'm gonna make one drop and then we can call it. All right, you guys, that was a freaking success. We crushed it, and it was a little slow, but I mean, we only dove for, how many hours do you think we dove? How many hours did we dive for? Like 3? Yeah, 2 or 3 hours. Got beautiful big mang, nice mutton. Didn't even have to question if he was legal. Jay shot a like medium-sized, smaller yellowjack, but that's good sashimi. And then he also got a nice mangrove snapper. That's crazy. He's such a good dude. You're just stabbing your kayak. Dude's just stabbing his kayak with my spear. Yeah, but that was I would say that was a success. We're gonna punch it back in and check this out. Ready? There we go. Power. I'm just starting to take off. Later, Jay.
That's messed up.
Dude, I'm cruising with this little jetpack. All right, but I'm gonna send it into the sunset, and I'll see you guys back at my place once we're all situated. And also comment, like, subscribe if you want to see extra things that I haven't shown yet. You know, comment below. Also, this thing will definitely be left in the comments below, the description, to pick one of these things up. They are sick, and I highly suggest them. Look at this. Cruising, chilling. Jay's jealous. We're sending it back in. I'll see you guys back at my crib when I'm cooking up this mutton, mangrove, or yellowjack. We'll see what we get into. Jay, what do we do? Dude, we got some good ones. Yeah, not bad for a couple hour kayak time. Dude, that mang is almost the size of that mutton. That mutton is well over 18 inches. What do you think? So, I think if we had a ruler, I need to do a ruler.
By far one of the best guys.
Was that one of your best guys?
We're on kayak, yeah.
Yeah? Dude, we crushed. We crushed. We went ahead and put that freaking fish on ice, and it's been sitting here for like a week. So I dry aged it. That's what I did, and that way I didn't have to deal with it right away, and I could eat it whenever I wanted. And it was about, yeah, exactly 1 week ago. And I'm gonna do the mutton, and I'm gonna cook it very simply, and it's gonna be one of my favorite ways to cook snapper. So don't go anywhere, and we're gonna get into filleting and processing this fish. So I suggest only doing this whenever you properly brain bleed and gut your fish. I have all the baggies ready for the fillet, and then also the baggies for the scraps, which are gonna be kept hungry. All right, I'm using the standard Cutco knife. This thing is a beast. I'll show you right now, but it has a little lever there, and it extends and becomes way bigger. So you just do all the cuts right now, the primary cuts, and then all the other cuts, or it extends, so the blade, you can flex it and it'll go through all of the meat. But I went ahead and gutted this guy, bled it, brained it, all the stuff you're supposed to do. I just make a incision right there, all the way down to the rib cage. Flip the knife and go inside out, so you don't have to worry about scales, and you stay this side of the fin, and then you slightly angle your knife so it rides along the bones all the way until you hit the spine. Once you hit the spine, you got to cut those pin bones. You'll hear them. You hear the crack. That's whenever you know you got through them, and you'll have to cut those out later. But I usually like going all the way to the bottom, then I start working my way back up to the spine, and that's where everything meets, and then just kind of work it and peel it off, cut it out like that. That looks prime, absolutely prime. And we're gonna do the same thing to the other side, but this one, you'll see me do the little extendo knife. I probably don't need to do it, but it helps you be away from the meat, and you can get the knife perfectly flush with the skin. And it makes it where you don't have to, it's very effortless.
and that's what you get. Perfect, perfectly cut. There's a little bit of, and then there's the pin bones that I cut through, and I just go ahead and I can still keep it extended. I just cut through them, and I feel them today. I can use that for chum, feed it to the dog, do whatever with it. You can use these as scraps, but you're left with this beautiful fillet. And I'm gonna go ahead, just because I can, I'm gonna go ahead and cut that little bit of bloodline as close as I can to it. Kind of V the knife down, and you get that little tiny extra bit of blood out of there. I'm not gonna eat that. This is back where we eat. And then I'll just go ahead and rinse these later. But look at these beautiful, pristine snapper fillets. And I'll do that with the other side. And then I'll see you guys in the kitchen. All right, we're in my kitchen, and I went ahead and washed all those fillets off with fresh water because I'm gonna cook them right now, so I don't think it'll really affect the flavor or taste or anything. But I'm dried them all off, and I went ahead and heated up some butter. And all I'm gonna do, I'm just going to paint all these fillets with the butter, and then just sprinkle some Cajun or any kind of blackening seasoning on this. And when you're doing this though, you want to make sure you don't use all of the butter. You want to just use half of it because you're going to do the other side the same process while the fish is getting cooked in the pan. Just a little, and however spicy you like it is how much seasoning you're going to put. So I like it pretty spicy, so I'm going to put a pretty healthy amount. And then now it's done. That's all the preparation. It probably took maybe 30 seconds. And now head out to the grill. So I went ahead, and it's already smoky out here. Went ahead and threw them on the big cast iron. And I put it seasoning down, and I put the bigger fillets in the middle, like the bigger, thicker pieces in the middle. Skinnier ones around the outside. Definitely don't crowd the pan, but I'm gonna head inside. Whew. That pan was, that burner was on the highest setting. So everything basically got seared, and use one of these flat spatulas to flip. And I'm just gonna flip everything. And you see, I literally did the first process that I did initially to get all the seasoning on. Just painted it with butter and seasoned it afterwards. So the side ones are like almost cooked all the way through. They're not gonna need much more time. Everything is getting flipped here. I'm gonna be able to scrape everything up off the pan. You want that? And then remember I said we needed like if you don't use all the butter, it's okay. This is why. You use the extra and you just pour it around the edges, and then everything just kind of cooks in it. Just like that. So we made it back into the kitchen. Everything is done and plated. I'm gonna go ahead and give it a taste test, and it's already, I can already feel it's like crispy on the edges. And I like just either eating this plain with nothing, squeezing some lemon or lime on it, or have like some kind of cilantro dressing, which I have this stuff. If you're ever looking for something to eat with your fish, this is not a sponsor, but this Brianna's cilantro lime dressing is top notch. So I'll probably sprinkle a little of this on, but it's gonna give a taste test. Just, I know I can even like, I just licked my fingers and the flavor was like next level. But I'm gonna have this with a little salad that I made. Check this out. Like the edges, because it's cooked on high, has a little crunch right around the edges. Packed with flavor. So good. If you guys want to try this, definitely, I highly recommend you try it at home. Also, if you guys enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. If you're new, consider subscribing. I post videos like this all week. If you have any questions on my gear, tactics, or anything, or even the recipe, go ahead and drop a comment below, and I'll see you guys next week for another adventure. Later.